That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts his butt.
Well, I'm not
like
a big fan of yours either, so
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question if I can. You repeatedly said...
You aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course of the...
Okay, just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Just wanted to end today's show by thanking all of the wonderful people who work behind the scenes at this network. You may have seen some reports about me and this show. And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me, I've decided to move on.
All right, guys, so it is official as he confirmed on air earlier today, which we'll show you in a second. Jim Acosta is done. He is leaving CNN. He has reportedly resigned from his post out of complete bitterness and anger for reasons we'll tell you in a second, because I think the context of the story is objectively very hilarious. And maybe that's a little sadistic of me, but I'm just saying, when you have a guy who's not just a propagandist for many years, but particularly in the relationship with his employer, Jim Acosta is someone who was constantly shilling, particularly not just for like the honor of the media, but specifically the honor of CNN, right? How many times did Jim Acosta for so many years go out and say, this is CNN, we report the facts, we report the news, anyone who's questioning, so smug about it the whole time, right? Anyone who's questioning the credibility of CNN and our amazing reporters, how dare you, how dare people disagree with the media, we're telling the facts, all of that pathetic behavior.
But Iowa and North Carolina are really states that should be in the bag for President Trump right now. That's an indication as to how much trouble he's in politically right now, Wolf. And as this crowd is chanting that there are members of the press here who suck, I should also point out, Wolf, what also sucks, getting the coronavirus.
And how was he treated in the end, right? What was his reward? What little cookie did he get from CNN in the end for constantly trying to defend their honor? Well, essentially what happened here, and we actually did this video a couple days ago when we were discussing the mass layoffs at CNN, is right now CNN is trying to restructure and redefine its image. Essentially what the executives at CNN have found is that the years of anti-Trump propaganda are getting really old. There's no longer an audience for it. And as we know, largely speaking, cable news as a whole is starting to decline as a media platform. So first of all, they're doing mass layoffs, right? We reported how they laid off 200 employees as they basically try to restructure the company, because as it currently exists, they're not getting good ratings. They're not really driving profit, but they're also kind of in this mood where the executives are trying to stop profiting so much off of Trump derangement syndrome and maybe move to a slightly different business model. And in the midst of that, what was happening with Jim Acosta is, again, after years of religiously shilling for CNN, they were trying to take away his 10 a.m. morning slot and move him to the midnight slot for his show instead. And I called it the janitor closet for a reason, because that's what it is, right? This is, as you're seeing here from the New York Post, apparently Jim Acosta, a CNN anchor who earned notice for grilling Trump administration officials in the White House briefing room, said Tuesday he would be leaving the network after nearly 20 years. So 20 years of service. And again, how does it end? You want to do a show in the broom closet at midnight? It's just so amazing. But anyways, Mr. Acosta announced the decision at the end of his 10 a.m. show, which will be his last for CNN. He is stepping down after clashing with the network over a decision to move his show to the start of the midnight hour, a cable news backwater, according to two people with knowledge of the discussions. And this also comes, obviously, as the network is moving Wolf Blitzer. And in a statement, CNN said it was grateful for Mr. Acosta's track record of dedication and commitment. Okay, So apparently they're so grateful, but they moved him to the midnight slot. And then eventually he just left because he's like, I can't do that, right? This is just a disgrace. This is how you guys are treating me. But in the end, Jim Acosta, at least you got your verbal cookie, right? Your beloved heroes, your idols at CNN said they appreciate your dedication and commitment. So congratulations. Okay, congratulations, buddy. It really ended so well for you. Yeah, I guess you could say in the end, Donald Trump won. It's so true. But with that said, okay, now I want to play for you. I want to react to Jim Acosta's closing segment. You know, this is the last moment of his on-air time at CNN. And I'm sorry, but we have to gloat objectively. Okay, it's really funny because this guy shilled to such pathetic behavior for so long. And like the article pointed out, 20 years of service in the fake news. And this is how the fake news treats him. Bye-bye, right? You know, it's just amazing. But first, folks, do us a big favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe if you are new. You subscribing is the #1 way to ensure that we can keep bringing you these videos. It's completely free. And let's begin the push to 1 million subscribers. And with that said, here it is. Jim Acosta bitterly seething on the inside for reasons that you can imagine in his final ever segment at CNN. Just take a look.
Just wanted to end today's show by thanking all of the wonderful people who work behind the scenes at this network. You may have seen some reports about me and the show. And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me, I've decided to move on. I am grateful to CNN for the nearly 18 years I've spent here doing the news. People often ask me if the highlight of my career at CNN was at the White House covering Donald Trump. Actually, no. That moment came here when I covered former President Barack Obama's trip to Cuba in 2016 and had the chance to question the dictator there, Raul Castro, about the island's political prisoners. As the son of a Cuban refugee, I took home this lesson. It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant. I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future. One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear. Post it on your social media so people can hear from you too. I'll have more to say about my plans in the coming days, but until then, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It has been an honor to be welcomed into your home for all these years. That's the news. Reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta.
You got it, Jim. Absolutely no problem. Okay, repeat after me, guys. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the propaganda of Jim Acosta and CNN. Thank you very much. Okay, Jim, there we go. We did it just for you, buddy. But no, this is so funny. This guy is so unbelievably dramatic, okay? And it really does remind you of sort of what these people were like under the Obama administration. I mean, you know, obviously Jim Acosta sort of became famous and was first known under Obama, and then he got really famous under Trump. But I say that because this sort of like theatrical Hollywood style of liberalism masked in the cloud of objectivity that people like Jim Acosta and George Stephanopoulos and others engage in is completely outdated, right? You want to talk about why maybe CNN is trying to rebrand itself and they're realizing that characters like Jim Acosta no longer really fit in the modern times is because, yeah, this is like a time capsule. You know, this guy still thinks he's living in a different era where the media can be super liberal and super biased, but they'll never get questioned. And then Trump started to call it the fake news, which it was. And then obviously he was so personally offended by that. It's like, people are starting to call out my lies. And then, of course, this is how it's ending, which on so many levels is just completely hilarious. Again, you know, as he brings up there, almost 20 years of service in telling the truth. And I want to thank everyone so much. And then, of course, as he confirmed, right, that's exactly what happened. CNN tried to move him after 20 years of working there to the midnight show. He said, I'm not going to be able to do it. And it's hilarious. But with that said, okay, I know we basically made this point already that, hey, you know, Jim, you spent so many years shilling for CNN. Where did it get you? But I do think it's especially hilarious because less than a week ago, this was Jim Acosta on his own show basically saying, this is CNN, this is the news, we report the facts. Like, again, shilling so hard for his employer, and just keep that in mind when we talk about how it ended and how he got treated in the end by CNN. It's just so funny.
It's covered on CNN. What you're saying, this is not Fox, Congressman. You can't just spin a tail and pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
This is CNN. This is the news. We are asking you to come on and tell the truth.
And that's why more people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now, Jim.
It's just so fitting, right? Less than a week ago, he's still out there defending the honor of his employer. This is CNN. This is the news. We report the facts. This is not Fox. I love CNN so much. Of course, he is obviously told that like more people are watching SpongeBob reruns than this network. And then how does it end up for him? Boom, has to leave because he's so disgraced by the way they treated him. Again, Jimmy Acosta, I don't know. I don't know if all of the years of the propaganda were really worth it on your end, because your beloved seat behind the legacy media cable news, look how fast it vanished. Uh-oh, sorry about that. Now, with that said, okay, now that Jimmy Acosta is leaving the mainstream media, at least for now, I'm sure he'll be back very soon, I figure we might as well here play a short compilation of all of Jim Acosta's lowest moments from the Trump administration, where he was very infamous, and shout out, by the way, to Media Research Group for compiling these clips. Take a listen.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate. Mr. President, will you stop calling us the enemy of the people, sir? If I may, though, I was going to ask a question about something else.
Well, you used it on something else, Jim.
If I may. Will you stop calling the press the enemy of the people, sir? Sir,
Quiet.
Quiet. Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead. She's asking a question. Don't be rude.
Mr. President, will you stop calling the press the enemy of the people, sir?
Jen,
Sean, can you answer whether the president still believes the question?
there's no camera on Jim.
Jim,
For people to send
Jim, do you believe
people to this country,
Jim,
and they're not always going to speak
Jim,
English, Stephen.
Jim,
they're not
do you
always
believe
going to be highly skilled. They're not always
Jim,
going to be.
I'm moving to a different Jim. I'm sorry.
I know, but I didn't get a chance to ask the question that I wanted to ask. Why are we not having a press conference today? You said on Friday we'd have a press conference. We had a press conference. We just had a press conference. Mr. President,
That's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation.
Jen.
Why don't we turn the cameras on?
I'm sorry that you have to do it. Jen, go ahead.
Why not turn the cameras on, Sean?
Jen,
They're in the room. The lights are on.
I'm
Give
not
us a
gonna give you
question.
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
President, haven't you spread a lot of fake news yourself, sir?
You aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course of
Okay,
the...
just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, no.
Yeah, bye-bye, buddy. You're kind of washed up. What can we say? I want to say that you will not be missed, but at the same time, I don't know. I kind of will miss Jim Acosta going back and forth with the Trump White House, because it was objectively really entertaining and really funny, but yeah, we don't exactly feel bad for you, buddy. With that said, though, let me know your thoughts, guys, on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new. How do you feel about Jim leaving? God bless and peace.